Perikid Dalet, chapter 14. So here's how we got to look at it, okay? I don't know if this is true, but that's how I'm going to teach it to you. Perikid Beis discussed the Beinani, and Perikid Gimel answered questions. Perikid Beis described the Beinani, and if I could use my own words, I think this is a correct way to enlighten the Beinani. The definition of a Beinani from the perspective of the Alter Rebbe. In other words, if you looked at the world from the Alter Rebbe's eyes, which is the eyes of a Tzaddik Gomer, the Beinani is defined by a moody person. He's got ups and downs. He has good situations and inspired circumstances and uninspired circumstances. So the Alter Rebbe in Perikid Gimel answered essentially 4 questions. Number 1, the Pshat in the Gemara in Berachas Teves Shefton. Number 2, the Pshat in the Gemara in Nideh, Hayei Beinecha Kirasha. Number 3, how Rabba made a mistake to say he's a Beinani. And number 4, is a Beinani, is Avodah Emes, considering that it's so fluctuating and so moody. Perikid Dalet gets down to business. Perikid Dalet has 2 parts. The first part of Perikid Dalet ends 3 lines from the bottom of page 38, Masha Enkein. The rest of the Perik, it seems to me, is the second point, although the Chitas ends Ayin Sham. The Chitas ends over here. In other words, we start the next one here. The first shtickle of today's Perikid Dalet is saying, Nu, as they say in American, T-O-T, Lega Vegdim Tachas Ofen Tish. Perikid Dalet, Vihine. Now that we learned about Beinani and Perikid Beis, and we answered all the questions in Perikid Gimel, and we enlightened that even though a Beinani is moody, it's emes. The measure of a Beinani is the level of every single person. And therefore, every person should aspire to be a Beinani. Now, my mashpim used to say in yeshiva that there's 2 madregas. There's something called madregas ha-Beinani, which is custom Perikid Beis. And then there's Midas HaBeinani, which is called the Perikid Dalet. And the way they would distinguish it is to say it like this. Madregas HaBeinani is the Madrega of Layava V'Layava. He hasn't sinned and will never sin. Midas HaBeinani takes it 1 second at a time. Right now I'm a Beinani. B'asher hu sham. Okay, so I don't know if it's true or if it's false, but that's what the Mashpiyim say, this is what I'm repeating. But B'chol Eifen, the Alter Rebbe says, now that we learned about Beinani, you should know you could be a Beinani, you should be forbidden. But the Alter Rebbe, you call out every person, Yochel, he is Beinani, he has the possibility to be a Beinani, B'chol Eis every hour, B'chol Shah, B'chol Eis every moment, B'chol Shah every hour. Why? Because being a Beinani is measured only in behavior, and every person is a master over his Beinani, a behavior. Ki ha-Beinani, because the level of Beinani, Ein Emeis, but doesn't hate evil. In Tanya chapter 10, we talked about Tzadikim. And we talked about that one who loves God hates evil, and one who hates evil loves God. This is the Madrega of Tzadikim. And the Alter Rebbe said there that a Tzadik who loves Hashem completely hates evil completely. This is a Tzadik Gomer. If he loves Hashem not completely, and he doesn't hate evil completely, that's the Madrega of Tzadik She'eini Gomer. So it's a business of Tzadikim. To hate Ra is to be a Tzadik, but a Beinani is not expected to hate Ra. Which is given over to the emotions. And of course, since a Beinani is a moody guy, a Beinani is not always the same, and he doesn't always hate evil, doesn't always love good, as opposed to a tzaddik. Ella, but what is a Beinani instead? Sur me'rav asei tev. Don't do any avedas, don't do mitzvahs, the hainu bepeil. All that matters is the action, mamish. Nothing more than the action. B'maiseh, what you do and don't do, dib, what you say and don't say, umachshav, what you think and don't think, and not how you feel. Because a Beinani cannot be expected to be constant in his feelings. Loi kol lo'itim shavas. Shebehem, and when it comes to behavior and speech and thought, habachira v'ayachelas v'rashus, choice and possibility and freedom is the sooner the chalad will be given to every person. Lasa is to do, v'ladaber and to speak, v'lachshav and to think. Whatever is necessary, gam mashu neged taivas libi, even though his desires and his heart are opposite it, va'afocha mamash, and the contrary to it, absolutely. Nonetheless, a person is free to override his passions with the behavioral, correct behavior. Even when his heart is desiring. Whatever kind of material pleasure. Whether it's a permitted pleasure, like kosher food, or prohibited pleasure, like teva food. Chas v'sholem, still, yochel his gabbat, he can overpower his temptation. And distract his mind, from the temptation of the gami altogether, and not do the Aveda. The temptation he cannot help, but the act of Aveda he can help. And the Alter Rebbe speaks, this now comes a Fabrengen. But he says to his heart, I don't want to be a sinner. Even for 1 hour. Why? Because if I sin for 1 hour, I'm separated from the Eibishter. 1 moment. I do not want to be moved of a nifrit, separated and disconnected chas v'shalom. From the one God, but in any way. It's written in the pasuk, Avedas are a wall between us and our own neshama, between us and the Eibishter. Rather, I need what I want is a dafka beit to become attached to the Eibishter. Nafshi, ruchi, v'nishmasi, my nefesh, my ruach, my neshama, be'eslap shon, as they allow themselves to be garmented by the 3 holy garments of the nefesh alikis, shei maise, dibur, umachshava, which is action, speech, and thought, by the Shem, v'teirasei, u'mitzvaysev, and Hashem in his Teir and his mitzvahs, by reaching in and pulling out the hidden love that I have for the Eibishter in my heart, lavaya to the Meibish. I'm no big tzaddik. I'm not a very passionate guy. Right now, I'm not inspired, but I'm a yid. And if I'm a yid, I have a natural love for the Eibishter. I want to employ my natural love for the Eibishter to make me a balabas over myself. Now, I want you to know like this: that the word avim esoteres will be used later on in 2 ways. Avim esoteres is used when a person thinks about Hashem and doesn't develop full-blown feelings. Avim yid, it's called avim esoteres. Avim esoteres is also used to denote the pintel yid, the essence of the neshama. And lomdim scholars, pilpul, every time the word avim says in Tanya, what does it mean? I believe that over here, avim esoteres means taka the pintel yid, and my raya is the next words. Not, I'm thinking about Hashem, I don't love him, but I have a pintel yid. Over here, I have a little love for him. Over here, it means taka the pintel yid, because what does he say, Vaiter? Like the Jewish people as a whole, that love the Eibishter's name. Whenever the Alter Rebbe speaks about this idea of avim esoteres, he says, which is close Yisrael, Knesset Yisrael. You're going to have it in Mitzvah Tanya, Sof Perek Mem Aleph, where the Alter Rebbe explains the idea of klal, and he says like this: you as an individual, are you whatever you are, but Yidden as a klal, love Hashem. Yidden as a klal, want to be miyachad yichudim. So I am whatever I am, but Yidden as a klal love the Eibishter, and me as a part of that klal, I want to serve the Eibishter based on that hidden love. Even the most light-hearted and callous Yid, Hashem, is really to sacrifice his life for the sanctity of God's name, as will be discussed in chapter 18 and chapter 19. And therefore, I have that capacity as well. I'm no worse than a callous, cynical Jew who, when his feet are put to the fire, dies al kiddush Hashem, bevade for sure. The reason the Kasha Bakam doesn't aveda is because he's obsessed with he's taken over by temporary insanity, which will be discussed in Tanya chapter 24. And he makes the mistake of thinking that in spite of the fact that he's doing an aveda, he's still a good Jew. What Emmanuel Shochat calls a cardiac Jew. I'm a good Jew with my heart. I sinned. It's like the Alter Rebbe, my neshama is not going to be separate from the Eibishter. Like the Alter Rebbe, that this idea that I can do an aveda and think that I'm still connected to the Eibishter, first of all, it's a shtus. And second of all, the reason you're able to do it is because for that moment you forgot about your pintel yid. In other words, even a kal shabakalim can't do the smallest aveda if not for these 2 factors: A, ruach shtus; B, what the Alter Rebbe calls here shikha. Later on, he calls it shina. The forgetting the pintel yid av, and Tanya calls the avos instead of sleeping. It's like the Alter Rebbe, I don't want to be a fool, like that person, lich by the emes, to deny the truth, that A, it's biyadi to be a benyani, B, any aved I do, I'm cut off from the Eibishter. This is the Alter Rebbe's fabrengen. You could be a benyani, don't be a fool. Don't say it's not so bad, it's terrible. And you know what? It's not such a big deal to control yourself either. That's the message. At kan the fabrengen. Now the Alter Rebbe is talking about tzaddikim. The way I read from here till the end of the Pedic is the Alter Rebbe is introducing us to a point which some would say is controversial. And that is that not everybody can become a tzaddik. From here, from Mash'enke until the rest of the Pedic gets from a tzaddik. And the Pedic Tezvav begins with the word Zubazeh Yuvan. The Zubazeh Yuvan goes on this point that we're going to learn today and tomorrow, that not everybody can become a tzaddik. I once heard from a Yid who's reliable. I don't think he heard directly from the Baditchev. He's not 200 years old. That Chassidim Gibben Ibid, the Baditchev was a good friend of the Alter Rebbe's, a very dear friend. And he wrote letters defending him and so forth. But I heard that Afa Pekain, the Baditchev had a Tanya to the Alter Rebbe when he saw the Tanya. Because the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya this page. The Baruch Mezhebu's problem was Perek Lamed Gimel. How could you say a Jew can't become a tzaddik? In the B'ditchev world, everybody was already a tzaddik. Are you any going to be a tzaddik? And the Alter Rebbe writes over here, the Nekuda, the rest of this Perek is being a tzaddik as a matana from the Eibishter, and you have to be zeich. Even tzaddik varale, and Kosh came, tzaddik v'tevle. This is what follows now in the rest of this Perek. And the story goes, I don't know if it's true, but they get the Maaseh that when the Alter Rebbe published the Tanya, he gave the Ksav Yad to a chassid. There's two stories. One is to go to Hanapala, to get the two Haskamas in Hanapala, from the Leiba Koyen and the Reb Zusha. The Alter Rebbe used to call them Meine Yedidei Nefesh, my closest friends. There's another story that he sent a shliach to Germany to go to a theater and get a Haskama from a tzaddik nista whose name was Karl. But the Alter Rebbe warned the shliach in one of these two stories that he should be very careful not to stop in B'ditchev. And of course, Rabbis Machshav Blavish, Va'atas Hashem Hisakum, and he stopped the B'ditchev. The minute he walked into the city, the B'ditchev went, the radar went on. He sent his chassidim, go find the Alter Rebbe's chassid. And he weiß that you can't hide from the B'ditchev, and tzaddik gomer mit Ruf and Eugen. They schlepped into the B'ditchev, and the B'ditchev said, are you carrying anything? No, me? What, stolen silk? I'm an honest man. The B'ditchev, he gave the B'ditchev to Tanya. But the Helika B'ditchev to Tanya. And he opened up each page and he went like this, lichtik. He turned it on each page, lichtik, each page, the whole book. Lichtik, light. And Chassidim Zogn, I heard this from Shaya Berkowitz, that, Shaya from LA, that he took away the lichtigkeit from the Tanya. He took him lichtigkeit from Tanya. Was the kavanah in them, but this is the way I heard the story, that the B'ditchev, he removed the light from the Tanya, the makif, from the Tanya. That's specific Tanya. Because I heard these two things together, that he objected to the Alter Rebbe's writing that it could be a tzaddik. And whatever the case is, this is what's written here, that not ever could be a tzaddik. It's like the Alter Rebbe Masha'enkin, as opposed to Madrega as a tzaddik. What is Madrega tzaddik? But that has to do with emotions, and intellect, and will, and pleasure, and essence. The Ainu Sheheram Mos Mamish, a person should mamish hate evil, but love in the heart. V'sanui b'tachas of sin, and hate it absolutely, which is tzaddik gomer. Or feel shalei b'tachas of sin, or perhaps not absolutely, which is Madrega of tzaddik she'eini gomer. Now interrupt. And remember that Ava and Sin are Shnei Kavim Shkulim. If you hate evil completely, you love Hashem completely. If you hate evil not completely, your love for the Eibush is also incomplete. And the irony is, when it's a complete love, it's a quiet love, like we discussed this morning in Shia. When it's a complete hate, it's a quiet hate. And when it's incomplete, the tzaddik gomer looks like the tzaddik. Sorry. The tzaddik sheidah gomer looks holy. The tzaddik gomer looks like a businessman, like Rambam, like Yosef tzaddik. The Rebbe walks like a normal person, talks like a normal person, davens with a minion, which a brent a fire for the Eibush. He said this, it cannot be. Sheyeh b'emes la'amita, it should be absolutely true by a beinoni, only by a tzaddik. Ella only, they take Gedel, v'teika v'aval ad Hashem. And one has a very powerful and intense love for God Almighty. The bechinas ava b'tanugim, a love which is called pleasure, which is lehisaneg, which is experiencing a glory and a pleasure of the Eibush. Alavai amein el haba. And ava b'tanugim, in my view, is tzaddik gomer, because as long as you have any ra, the ra interferes with ava b'tanugim. In other words, when you have a little evil in you, you have a fight. Ava b'tanugim is not like you don't have a fight. The Eibush that is manifest. That you have a pleasure, you experience Hashem in such a real way that your identity, your consciousness, your every minute is like walking in a cloud of godliness, and the pleasure that it brings. Says the Rebbe, and this is called Elam Chatira B'Chayecha. This is Mein Elam Haba. The Gemara says Elam Chatira B'Chayecha B'Chuli. Only that you can have Elam Haba in this world. The Gemara says Shleisha. Hitimin Hakadosh Baruch Hu Mein Elam Hazeh Elam Haba Mein Elam Hazeh Hu Avraham Yitzchak and Yankov. Not everybody merits this. It's similar to. Now the word ke'ein means it's similar to but not identical with. Kibul schar, reward. In other words, you can't reach it by yourself, Hashem has to give it to you. The labor of a gift, I will give you a priesthood, etc. Now these two words, Avedas Matana, are a contradiction. If it's avoid, it's not matana. If it's matana, it's not avoid. What's the teretz? You have it, and if the Eibush wants, he gives you the matana. And if we don't want, you're never going to get it. So is it tzaddik, matana or avoid? Do you deserve it or not? Both. Or being a tzaddik, but the Alter Rebbe being a beinoni, Verstehst you could. You work if the Eibishter wishes to give to the Matan. This is the pshat of another question that we had in Perek Aleph. Eve says in Masechet Bava Basra, B'ras Tzadikim v'chuli, right? B'ras Tzadikim v'ras Hashem. Like the Alter Rebbe, v'tzadik v'rosh aleika omar. Hakel b'dei Shemayim chutz miyira Shemayim. Hashem does not interfere with free will. How could Eve say B'ras Tzadikim v'ras Hashem? What's the teretz? B'ras Tzadikim, you created some people that are going to be zeichet to the madrega v'lam chatiri b'chayecha elam haba. It's tzadik. Hava B'ras Hashem doesn't mean Hashem, it means beinanim. There's different types of levels and categories of neshamis. Chasidim, Gibedim. What's Gibedim? Hamazgav Mayut, the strength of the Yetzer Hara. Morei Teda, masters of Teda, Nevi'im, V'chol Tzadikim, V'chol Yayin Sham, different madregas. In other words, mitzad and Shama alone, people have different possibilities. And the Nekuda that we started today, we're going to continue tomorrow, is madregas tzadik, is defined by emotions. Sinu for Ra and Ava for Tev, which is constant. And by a Benyani we say, Leikol Itim Shabbos, and not everybody can be a tzad.